Welcome, everyone, to the Marketing Companion. And this show is singularly unique. Singularly has not always been one of my easiest words to pronounce for a couple of reasons. First of all, as I mentioned a few episodes ago, I'm winding down as the host of this show. I've got 2 episodes left. And beginning in January, the new owner and host will be Sandy Carter. And I'm already excited about the new ideas she's bringing to the table. So can't wait for that. The other reason this is unusual is my co-host today is my great friend, Mathew Sweezey. And Matthew has been one of the most frequent co-hosts on the show for good reason. He is a genius. The breadth of his knowledge is breathtaking. We always have something interesting to talk about. But today, we're going to talk about like relationships, the importance of relationships in companionship and marketing. And as you know, this show is now in its 13th year, and I've never repeated a subject twice, really. And so that tradition certainly stands today because this is a topic I normally avoid because I'm not that great at relationships. And we'll get into that today. First, I wanted to remind you that our show is brought to you by Brevo. Brevo is just so awesome. They've sponsored the show for 3 years. I love them. It's so easy to use. It's such a great value for the money. If you want to expand your customer base and boost your revenue, CRM, Brevo has a CRM suite tailor-made for businesses like yours. I've mentioned before on the show that, I mean, they have some big, big companies as their customers, but they have a pricing structure that really works for everybody. So I hope you'll try them out. Go to brevo.com/marketing companion to see a special offer. You can try it for free. And if you sign up, you can get 50% off your first 3 months. So, Matthew, what is new in your world? Bring us up to
All
speed, brother.
all kinds of fun stuff. Lots of fun client work. Still doing tons
Tell
of
me.
AI and agentic, and so lots of fun things happening. And then I just want to push back, Mark. I think you're great at
Yeah,
relationships.
everybody says that, but they don't really know me.
I mean, I've known you for many years, and like one of the reasons we're so close is because how good you are with relationships.
Well, it's an enigma because a lot of people say that, and I guess I'm just going to be transparent to the point of being vulnerable here for a moment. So, um, over the years, I've broadcast this show from all over the world, because that's how my schedule is. And today, I'm uh, I'm in Key West, Florida. And I came down here by myself because I needed to have some sunny weather for a few days, and my wife couldn't make it for professional reasons. And I woke up at 3 in the morning last night thinking that I just feel so alone. Not in this moment necessarily, but it's just I just feel like I haven't had a lot of strong relationships in my life. And it really gets down to two different things. One is, and I've said this before, and people push back on this, is I'm terrible at networking. And the most egregious example of this that I use to describe how I'm a complete failure at networking is I was giving a talk in Las Vegas. And this was to like marketing directors from Disney and NBC Universal. And there were like, I don't know, 300 people in the room, and every person in this room could have hired me. I was the opening keynote speaker, killed it. They loved it. In the afternoon, the guy from Disney gave a speech and referred to me saying, "Oh, we all need to listen to Mark. He was absolutely right this morning." And and that night there was a cocktail party for me to meet all these people and network with all these people. And a friend of mine from Vegas saw that I was in town, sent me a note, said, "Hey, you want to get a bite for dinner tonight?" I said, "Sure," because I would rather have that one-on-one relationship, that one-on-one dinner, a dinner with one person, a dinner. I just cannot stand networking events. I don't like the shallowness of it. I don't like the competitiveness of it. I don't like when someone's looking over your shoulder while they're shaking your hand to see who the next person is going by. I like, deeper relationships. So, I
Mark, this
just,
this shit paused because I think
come on.
we all agree with you. No one likes that. Everyone hates the
No,
schmoozing,
that's
the
not true. That's
I don't
not
know.
true.
I'd say a fair number. I'm in the same boat. I don't like it either. When I used to go
Yeah.
to conferences, I mean, I used to work for a very large company. We had like the world's largest conference, and me and my best friend would always purposefully get Airbnbs outside of the main town. And then as soon as we got done doing our thing, we would retreat to like the local town and not try to engage in them because yeah, especially if you do conferences all the time, it just gets very hard and you just crave one-on-one genuine relationships, which I think then goes back to the point of where I was saying like you are good at relationships because you chose to have a
Well,
one-on-one personal
you know,
relationship versus a superficial one.
I do. I really enjoy that. And I like a couple years ago, you came and stayed with me, and Keith Jennings came up from Atlanta, and we sat by the fire, on my back deck overlooking the lake, and we were, sipping bourbon or whatever we were sipping. And I mean, to me, that's like the best thing. But I mean, you're far away, and a lot of my closest friends are far away. And I just, at this point in my life, have not, I just have not done a good job creating great friendships, really meaningful friendships. And I'm trying to do better. I am trying to do better, because I know that's important as you get older. But, I can't totally explain it, but uh, a lot of the people who I love was just, you know, are not that accessible. They live a long way away from me.
Well, I hear you on that one, Mark. I love you, brother. I'm so
Love
excited to
you
be a
too.
co-host on this. Yeah, I think one of the things that I wanted to do on this show was, since it's our last like show together, I just wanted to kind of like fill some people in on some ways that I feel about you and some things that I think about you. Because I remember we were in the same
This will
circles.
be the schmaltzy show. We'll
The
call it the
Smaltzy
schmaltzy
show.
show.
This is the so I remember we've known each other because we were both in like the speaking and writing circuit for a long time. And then I
Yeah,
remember you had um Marketing Revolution come out,
Marketing Rebellion.
Marketing Rebellion come out. At the same
Yeah,
time I had the Context Marketing Revolution come out. So I think they
right.
were at the same time. I remember we were flying back from somewhere and we were in the Atlanta airport and we were both because I think we both flew through Atlanta so you could go to Knoxville and I could go to Charleston at the time. And I think we were
Mhm.
waiting on that flight from it to Atlanta. And we're just chatting in the line. And then you're like, oh, yeah, send me this stuff. And we started chatting. And then we became super fast friends based on like the context of our books and the topics at the time. And then just very deep in relationship in terms of like how much we would work together, you hosting them at your house, and I would drive across the country, lots of different types of ways of engage doing on this. And I think and then the marketing uprising, there's just been a lot of engagement and throughout that time like there's things that people that don't know you on a deep level I would like them to know about you. One is just how loving of a human you are and how much you give to other people. So I think there's a couple aspects of this. Is one is just in your general life, like your daughter would run the event for the Uprising. Your
Right.
daughter's a phenomenal human. Like
She
you
is.
don't produce phenomenal humans if you're not a phenomenal human. So like you just have like you have amazing children. You have mentored many, many, many people who have gone on to do phenomenal things. I feel like I'm a recipient of a lot of your mentorship as well and your companionship as well. And then when we do the uprising, the way that you host an event and the way that you talk about the uprising and the way that it feels like you've created a very familial family loving environment. And that's because that's who you are. And that's kind of like the way that you treat people. And that's why everyone keeps coming back. So I just want like everyone to know of like, Mark, you've been phenomenal as a mentor, phenomenal as a friend. I love you. Thank you so much for all that you give to me and everyone else. So like anyone listening to this, like Mark's a great guy in the general world. And I just want everyone to know that.
Well, thank you. I didn't expect that. That's very kind of you. I'll never forget the time I really sort of appreciated you for the first time. Before you wrote your book, you created a short series podcast about your book that was so beautifully written and produced and so deep in its thinking. I listened to it and I just thought, I have found my marketing soulmate here. I mean, you really are a special, special intellect. And and I think I wrote this as a testimony for your book. I mean, I'm really picky when it comes to books and writing. And your book was, I mean, the first book I can remember ever that as soon as I finished it, I started reading it again because it was so relevant. Still is. Context Revolution, Harvard University Press, which is not easy, by the way, to get a book through Harvard University Press. So that's really impressive. Yeah. So, but I realize, I think this is, and I appreciate the kind words. And I do think for me, relationships have been kind of a blind spot. And I point to someone who's really good, at the networking and the relationships is Andy Crestodina. And he he wrote a book called Content Chemistry. I think this is one of the best marketing books out there. I think it's the best content marketing book out there. And it's not just because Andy is brilliant and generous and right in his writing, but he also emphasizes the humanity, the human part, and the relationships. And you don't necessarily think about that when it comes to something like content marketing. I mean, content marketing is supposed to stand on its own, right? It's like um, you create content, and auto magically you build this audience that is becomes your affinity group because they're attracted to your thinking. And you know, if you think about how SEO works, especially as you think about this whole new world of AI search works and these AI signals, relationships are more important than ever. And here's an example. Every year, Andy creates this piece of research, actually does several pieces of research. And whenever he creates a new research piece, he taps me and he says, "Hey, Mark, I did this new research piece. Would you like to comment on it?" And I always say yes. Now, I get a lot of requests. I get deluged with requests to, do this and do this and, do help somebody with their book or their podcast or whatever. And I just can't handle it all. And I do try to say yes as much as I can, but I always say yes to Andy because of the relationship. Now, that helps me because I'm mentioned in his content, which creates this SEO signal and this AI signal, but it also helps him because now he's got a voice of authority in his content, and I'm likely to promote it. And he in his book, and it's one of the only books I've seen that really tackles that aspect of marketing, that it's not just tips and tricks, that there's this also aspect of relationships. And I do have good friends out there. I do. I do have friends that mean a lot to me. And I'll also say, whenever we do these podcasts, there's people in the Rise community that are watching, right? And these people really have become my friends. I mean, this they really have. I mean, these are people that are not just social media friends. These are like, I'll have you over for dinner. You can sleep at my house friends. And that has been a great just gift to me because I'm not sure I really expected that when I started the community, but it's been great. So I think I recognize this as a sort of a fatal flaw in my life and in my career. And, I think one of the great ironies is when I wrote Known about building your personal brand, there is literally nothing in there about networking. Nothing. But next year it's the 10th anniversary of the book. I'm going to create a a new version, an updated version of Known. It's a very beloved book. The basics of the book work because I did a lot of research. I nailed that. But I've also learned a lot. We've got AI now, and one of the things is somehow I've got to write a chapter on networking in that book, even if I get someone else to write it who's better than me. Maybe it'll be Andy. But I've got to address that because it is an important part of building your personal brand. I think Andy is a testimony to that.
Agree.
We have dead silence now.
Uh,
We got
yeah. So the one thing it is marketing. I want to talk about one thing, a great
all
example
right.
of relationship and content marketing that I came across.
Uh-huh.
So I'm a big backpacker, and
Yeah.
into ultralight. So anyone that's into backpacking and ultralight, and there's a brand that is like a very beloved brand in that world, and it's called Durston. The guy's name is Dan Durston. He's a big ultralight backpacker, and then anywhere that you go on to research anything about like it's like tents, poles, like super ultralight gear for backpacking. Anywhere that you go to investigate this product, because you're like, do I want the X Pro or the X Pro mid tent or like just the regular? There's all kinds of questions that we get into like the specifics. He answers every question he finds on Reddit personally as the CEO of the company, and it's a boutique company, right? It's just a small company, but he answers every question. And so it's like when you're going through and you're talking about like a relationship to the brand, you see a lot of people who talk about, well, one of the reasons this brand is loved so much is because of the way that he treats everybody. He responds to every comment. He gives very lengthy discussions on like why you should probably do this thing versus the other thing. I just think it's a really great example of one person in a brand and how much they engage. A lot of this is in Reddit, a lot of this is in social media where he engages. But I thought it was a really phenomenal example. And then also just if you're into ultralight tints, I would highly suggest looking at the Durson Mid Pro.
Well, there was another story. I can't remember if it was just something that you told me or you wrote about it somewhere where it was the company you just bought a pair of socks from them, right? Do you remember that story? And the guy
Hmm.
called you up and said, "Where are you going?" And then and then you said, "Oh, I'm
Oh, that
going
was
on."
Gearhead. That was Backcountry back in the day when they first started their Gearhead program.
Yeah. And the guy just gave you a whole itinerary for the trip.
Yeah. So the story goes back. This is probably I'd say 7 to 10 years ago. So Backcountry is a retailer for outdoor gear, and
Yeah.
they created a new program and they called them the Gearheads. So highly competitive industry. What differentiates one retailer from another retailer is essentially the problem they're trying to solve. They created a program called the Gearheads, where they take employees, and these employees essentially become content creators. They are experts, and then they answer questions. So if you are asking questions on the website, you are going to be directed to a gearhead who is an expert in that field. So if you're asking questions about snowboard bindings or backpacks or whatever your choice sport may be, you're going to get somebody who does that in an extremely high level, probably was a guide or some type of a level, and then will give you like very specific expert advice back. And so I'd bought a pair of socks, and this person sent me an email to my personal email, not asking about like the socks or did they fit or specific like traditional customer service questions. The question was, well, where are you going on this trip? And it was a personal email from a gearhead. So not like an automated canned, like, just give me a couple check boxes. And then it started a conversation between me and this gearhead. And since that time, I shop a ton at Backcountry, and I just bought another jacket. This time, actually branded a Backcountry. They now started to make their own gear, so I bought one of their jackets for my ski season this year. So yeah, that's the Gearhead program. But it was all about relationships between two humans, And then how do they differentiate themselves as a retailer to the
Yes.
gearhead
See,
program?
and so 2 points. I think as we get into this era of AI, where companies are going to eventually over-index on AI in customer service, and then hopefully, come back to humans at some point. Humanity will be a luxury. We can't overlook that. And the other aspect of that story, I think, if I got an email from someone saying, "Where are you going?" I probably would have responded, "None of your business."
Yeah.
See, it's the difference between me and you, right? It's
Yeah,
just like
but I
I've got this Larry David narrative going through my head that I'm trying to like push down.
So I just pulled up some quick stats on gearheads. So I wrote about this in my book, but I'd forgotten the stat. So customers who work with gearheads tend to exhibit significantly higher engagement. Backcountry reports a 95% increase in selling behavior and a
Wow.
105% bump in ordering behavior after emphasizing relationship based selling through gearheads. And then the LTV of those customers is 40% higher than
Wow.
their average customer.
Yeah, oh, gosh. Yeah. Well, see, send me those statistics. I'm going to print it out, just put it on my computer to inspire me. And look, I do try to help people. I really do. One of these in our community, we have a book club, and one of the books we examined was a book called Strength to Strength. And the guy in that, oh gosh, someone's gonna have to give me a link here because I can't remember who wrote it. Raise the book, Iris, so I can see the who wrote it. Arthur Brooks. See, Iris, she's in the community. She's here just helping me in every moment. So thank you, Iris. Arthur Brooks wrote this book, and he goes through this story about patterns in people's lives. And the story that he sort of focuses on is Charles Darwin. And, Darwin did his greatest work basically before he was 30 years old. And then he just could never replicate that kind of success. And he talks about how most people are most creative and most productive in their 30s and 40s, and then they hit this lull. And the most creative people, or the most successful people, as they get into this lull period, this older period of their life, they transition to a different type of meaning and purpose in their life. And this is nurturing people, mentoring people, teaching people. And that has sort of come natural to me. I think that is my biggest gift right now, is to use my platform, my resources as best I can to lift people up and nurture people and help them in their career. And so that does come naturally to me. So I would say I think I'm succeeding in that part. Where are you in your space? Are you at your peak, or are you sliding into
That's a great question.
meaning and purpose?
I think I'm enjoying more leadership and growing people. So enjoying really growing teams and growing
Mhm,
people right now. So
mhm,
I think I'm maybe starting to transition into that next phase of where you're getting out of just the traditional of like build, 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 and now it's like more about building other people. So I'm
mhm.
enjoying that phase, but I still think I've got a few more. Uh, let's build some big things in my
Good.
horizons before I just get into full time building people.
Yeah. Well, the world needs that from you. And I would say I don't completely agree with the David Brooks theory, because like I think I'm doing my best work. My writing's better than ever. My books are better than ever. I've got more experience, more confidence than ever. I think, my the things I'm tackling on my blog posts are unique and needed and meaningful, um, thorough,
So
well, well
Mark,
researched. So
I
yeah.
do want to bring up one thing because I think it'd be a miss for us if we didn't hit on this. If we're talking about relationships and we're talking
Hmm.
about marketing, I think one of the biggest things is with the change of AI, how does the importance of a relationship change with a brand and its audience?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I think as we look at we all agree that relationships are important. We've just talked about some examples of relationships. We've talked about our relationship, and we know how powerful relationships are. We even had some data points on it of like as a methodology. And then I think as we talk about the future and where things shift, as we start to offload more and more towards AI. I mean, my work right now is all about AI transformation, of transforming some of the world's largest companies from how they would to typically operate in a traditional model of creating advertising, creating ads, and getting those out, into now an AI first, where we're looking at reductions of timeline and cost of like 30 to 50%. And we're moving things from, 15 days and 10 weeks down to like 3 days and minutes. So it's a radical thing. And then we have to ask the question of, well, if we could automate all of that, what's left? And what's left is going to be the relationships that we create. So is once we remove the timelines of creation, then we have to go back and focus on the relationships. And I would be curious to get your take on this, but I think I'd stand on the side of whoever has the best relationship with the consumer is going to win. We know that to be a pretty solid playbook from all times, but I think it's just going to be even more exacerbated in the future of when everyone can create so fast. Who separates and what separates brands? It's going to be, to your point, the most human brand wins. And human means relationship.
Yeah, I thought about that a lot when I wrote the new book, how AI changes your customer. Is, if there's one mantra or sentence probably associated with me would be, the most human company wins. And I'm thinking, well, is that still true? Because in many cases, AI might be more human than the humans we've got out there. They could be more understanding, more patient, less irritable. Um, so is it true? And I think it is true. However, the most human company, it might be a blend. I mean, it might be a blend of using AI to do the heavy lifting where we need the best, the most patient person. We need the or in person uh, entity, or we need the entity that can get the simple answer in the easiest, fastest way. I'm not against that at all. And if your customer service sucks and you can be one level above suck just by using AI, that's moving you a step closer to being the best human company in your field. So I think it can be a blend. And I think the other idea is that the true touch point, like you mentioned, the CEO of the gear company personally connecting with people. As we go forward, that is going to be uh, a luxury. That is going to be rare. And I think one of the ideas is we cannot lose sight of the fact that the only thing our competitors cannot copy is how we treat our customers. They can copy everything else. They can copy our colors, they can copy our ingredients, they can copy our advertising, but the only thing you cannot copy is how you treat your customers. And if you start automating that, you may be messing with your brand. So be very, very careful, be very, very mindful, be even scientific about how you are messing with your customer service because it might be the whole key to your brand.
I do
Uh,
want to add on one point to this, which I think is the difference between humane and human. And so I
mhm.
think as we move into this world where I agree it's going to be hybrid, and I have a very Luddite aunt, right? She has like a cell phone, not really a computer, except just to pay her bills. Doesn't really engage with technology. And I asked the question. I said, "Would you rather call into a call center and have a human, or would you rather have an AI?" Because if the AI can get me the answer faster, I'd rather have that. And so I
Sure.
think we need to get into this mentality of what is humane versus what is human and build the most
Yeah, I
humane
like that.
experiences. And so it's like
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be a human behind there, but it has to be a humane experience of we try to find out what is best about the human relationship and best about that experience. And if we are using AI to do those, which we will as we move forward, just let's make sure it's the most humane experience. And if that means getting the answer quicker, faster, better, that's more humane, even though it may not be a human who's actually on the other end of that. So I think like I just rephrase it for me.
I think that is a great place to sort of wind up the show. I want to also mention, of course, that our show is brought to you by SEMrush. And look, I mean, they're all over the AI search traffic now. They've created a new AI search tool that can track your AI visibility score. I've tried it out. It is very cool. I mean, it is a very, very thought-provoking rating. So check it out. Go to www.semrush.com/AI-SEO. That's semrush.com/AI.SEO and give it a try. Well, the thing I love about you, Matthew, is I've met a few people in my life that really are in the genius category. And the one common trait they have is being able to distill complexity to its essence. And I haven't really thought about framing it like humane versus humanity. And or what were the words you used? Humane versus
Human.
human. Yeah, humane versus human. I think that's a great way to focus and a great way to end the show today. Well, I mean, one of the I think in a way, um, I see me turning over the show at this point as a great gift to, because there's nothing wrong with the show and there's nothing wrong with me. It's just the right time. And I'm going to be getting more time in my life back, hopefully to work on the humane aspects of my life that I've talked about have been, a deficit so far. And hopefully maybe that'll mean you and me spending some more time together. I'm not going to be rock climbing with you, baby. Uh, I mean, boy, when I see your pictures on Instagram, it makes me pucker, dude. I mean, just I'm not going to go there, but maybe we can do kayaking or something a little
We'll
bit
keep it
more.
chill.
Keep it chill, man. All right. Thanks so much, Matt. You've been such a great friend. And I'll just mention one other thing about you because you said so many kind things about me. This was the singular moment. This was my Matthew Sweezey moment. So Matt had been to the Uprising, I don't know, at least three, maybe four times. And I had the Uprising planned and it was ready to go. And like a couple weeks before I was supposed to have this thing, I found out that my mother was dying. And we just didn't know when that was going to happen. And there was a probability that she was going to die during the Uprising. And Matt immediately said, I got you covered. I will be there. I will do this for you. He bought a plane ticket that afternoon to make sure the Uprising would occur, even if I wasn't there. So, Matt, that's the kind of guy you are, and I'll never forget that. So thanks everyone for joining us today. If you don't know Matt, go connect with him. Go read his book. He's an amazing guy. Take care. We'll see you next time for one last show on the Marketing Companion.